I just had a conversation with an artist, another amazingly smart, brilliant, talented woman, and she is an art professor. And we were talking about the similarities between my work and her work. And basically, it is the same. I'm taking people through a container of self-transformation. And if you're looking to transform your life, what does that really mean? Today, I want to give you my perspective on what transformation means for me and what I want you to know if you're interested in working with me. So, the first step to transformation is an inner urge, right? There's like this either it's going to be pain that's going to push you forward. Most people step into my space or the space of creation through pain. There is either like a wake up call, right? Many call it the spiritual awakening. But what is the spiritual awakening rooted in? Many times it is ignited by a deep pain, a deep discontent, like whether it be a medical diagnosis or whether it be a relationship, you see yourself getting like smacked by the bus, right? By the Mack truck, right? You feel like, oh my God, something went totally wrong here, and you feel it in your soul. Or it is a financial situation where you're like at the bottom, right? Where you're at the bottom and you realize, oh my God, like something has to change. It is so painful that you know something has to change. But many times, many people are not inspired to actually seek the help because they are like loaded with self guilt, with shame, with doubt, with self punishment, like self judgment. And that's what I want to take from you. Like, I know that I can come across very confident, and today I am very confident, but it has not always been that way, right? I was hit by relationship pain. That has always been my deepest pain. And I believe that's the deepest pain for all of us because we receive the most joy by beautiful relationships, but also the deepest pain by relationship hurt and disappointment and betrayal and feeling a sense of maybe neglect or abandonment or trauma, abuse, right? That's the deepest pain for all of us. And for me personally, it is, of course, also rooted in personal trauma. And also the symptom or my wake up call was in a unhealthy relationship with a man. And that has been like what has went on in my life. That has been my deepest shadow. Like everything else, I looked like I had everything else figured out, right? Like the academia, the success, my body, and looking good, looking beautiful, things like that. But on the deep, in the shadows, there was always this deep longing for love and acceptance and validation, and then not really being upfront about what it is that I truly wanted. The the highest level of partnership, not just love, but respect, mutual intellect, right? Mutual capacity of understanding what relationship really is, like really the highest form of a relationship, a conscious, healed relationship. But almost 10 years after my own wake-up call, the pattern still hasn't changed, even though I left my job and I went on my own heroine's journey, right? I left my corporate job. I was on my path to finding my purpose, right? This very vague calling, but I followed it. And I invested in myself. That's why I'm always so big on speaking about investing in yourself, investing in what is calling you, right? In the knowledge that is calling you. I see myself as a teacher, not only as a preacher and not only as a coach, but I am a transformational teacher. I'm a guide. I'm a mentor. I am a coach. I'm a yeah, I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, I'm a teacher, I'm a guide, I am a facilitator, right? And I myself went to seek the knowledge that I needed in order to empower myself, because is what it's ultimately about, to empower yourself with knowledge. There is like knowledge is so important to empower yourself in this world. And the first step for me was empowering myself on a physical level. Like I was drawn to the topic of health. So I learned everything about gut health and micronutrients and things like that. So this is a master or that's the area that I mastered. Like I'm at a point in my life where I'm very balanced. I am no longer radical about it, but I'm still very like pro micronutrients, self food, a holistic diet, right? Like whole foods, healthy foods, natural foods, organic food, and really the quality of food, right? That we need, because we are natural beings. We are natural beings. We have a natural organism, so we need healthy food, healthy water, and not so many of the toxins, all the sugar, the alcohol, the toxins, the salt, the processed food, the processed meat, all of the antibiotics and things like that that are in the food, right? So we have to know about that. That's one big chunk of my awareness, how important natural food is for our overall health. Food, like the gut health, is directly correlated to mental health. Right? Our gut health is directly correlated to our moods, our motivation, our mental health, our outlook on life, like the positive feelings, our hormonal health. Everything is interconnected. That's why it's so important to start with healthy food, a healthy gut microbiome, healthy a healthy organism, again, because everything is connected. So everybody, that's my opinion, who's trying to teach you a different modality of creating a healthy life or success that is not rooted in health, it doesn't work. It is not sustainable. So the first thing is health. And you will see that many people who are coaches or who become mentors or even business coaches, many times they started with health. Many people started with yoga or fitness or nutrition or breath work or things like that. It's all rooted in the body. It is so important for transformational modalities to be rooted in the body. That's what I believe. So that has been one part of my journey. But there's another part of my journey that I personally find even more interesting. And that's why I stopped talking about food only, even though that is what I live, that is my basis, and that's still what I stand for. And I still teach health inside my programs, but I'm not so vocal about it on social media here or on my platform. But I just want to let you know that that's a part of myself and part of my ecosystem and part of my own success recipe and part of my teachings. But what I want you to know about me as well, if you are looking to create a life of holistic success, I knew when I was done with my training on holistic health, I knew I wasn't done because I was striving for, as I said, holistic success. And I think we all feel that, right? We all feel that there's more than just a beautiful outside. It is very important, but it's not everything. We continue. And I knew, like, I was calling in that. I was calling in my mentor. up until this day, she's still my mentor, and she has provided me with this world class. And I really say that world class, not only world class, like that's universal, right? Universal principles. Like her curriculum has catapulted me into a overarching dimension of perspective. I don't know if that's understandable, but I'm not only teaching health on a physical level, but I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm a teacher of universal principles. If you want, and if that resonates with you, like I'm an alchemist, I'm a witch, I am a goddess, I am a spiritual being also in a human experience, right? I am a multidimensional being. If you understand what that means that I see myself as a human, as a woman, as a Black woman, but I'm more than that. I'm a soul, right? I'm a soul that is everything. And the same goes for you. And I'm speaking very clearly today because I don't want to trick people into my work, right? I don't want you to think that I can only help you transform your body. If that's right now, that's what you want, that's fine. We can do that, but there's more. And I will always call you to more when you're ready, right? That's also what I had to learn. Inviting people into their fullness, right? When people speak about becoming the best version of yourself, ultimately it leads to understanding your spirituality. Ultimately, it leads you into occultism, right? And occultism just means hidden knowledge. So we don't want to talk more. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's not necessary. But I want you to know that it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing evil. It's just very deep understanding of human nature. So when I was seeking for more information, I knew like I wanted to help. Back then I said like I wanted to help my people, and I definitely identify I'm mixed. That's also a very important part of my own transformational journey. I'm mixed, I'm both. I'm Black and white. I'm African and German. I am Ghanaian and European, right? I am both. It is in my blood. It is in my heritage, and it's also in my socialization. I am both. I always like to say I'm so privileged that I'm 100% of both. So I am a 200% person, not 50-50. I'm Black and I'm white, both. And I am me. I am Joanna, and I'm the spirit, right? So I would love you to understand it. And if you don't understand it, I would still love you to just soak it in, to let it sink into your subconscious. Your subconscious knows what I'm talking about. You don't have to understand everything on a logical level. I knew I wanted to help my people, and I knew that many of the diseases, which we call mental diseases, many times are also spiritual diseases, or let's say spiritual psychosis, mental psychosis. African people, and I know that because I lived in Ghana when I was young, and I could I could feel the spirituality. I could feel the juju. I could feel the also the heaviness of secrets and things not being talked about. I could feel those things and I didn't like it. So that's why I became a student of those things, because I want to understand everything. I also want to understand the spirit world. I want to understand what people believe. That's also why I studied culture. I studied culture even in my first academic degree. I studied international business, and I wrote my thesis, my bachelor's work on cultural analysis and comparing. Again, everything that I did was always a study of self, to know myself, because this topic has guided me all through my life. And one part that I always wanted was to study myself. So even in my bachelor's thesis, I studied both of my cultural backgrounds. So I studied the Ghanaian culture on, like, it's this dimensional approach is called Gerd Hofstede's approach, right? And he has different dimensions, like power dimension, relationship dimension, like I don't know exactly what it's called right now, like gender dimension. Is the culture more feminine or masculine? That's what I wrote my thesis about. So I studied this topic deeply. And informed by that, I wanted to know more. So after studying health, I then studied transformation. First, I went through this transformational program myself, and I realized that's the container, that's the work that I want to guide others through. And I want to take you through a really more comprehensive approach on what it is that I take people through. So the first part of this transformational process is to write down your first draft of what you want to create for your life. So as I started this podcast here today, is that I spoke with this artist today, and she's not only an artist, but she's also a lecturer, just like me. So she also takes her students through the transformational process of themselves to then translate it into art. And that's the same thing that I do. I help people. They come to me with a deep desire for personal expression, for pain, as I said in the beginning. And that's the same thing for me. We need some sense of direction. Like, there's so much pinned up emotion and we don't know what to do with it. And then the container that I invite you in is a safe container for you to basically explode in, right? Like, to express yourself, but to make it in a directive way. Not like I'm not directing you, but I'm asking you to channel that energy. So the first thing that you do in my container is to map out and create a life design, just like every artist would first create their first draft, right? Just like any architect would create the first draft. So the same thing goes with your life design. You create the first draft in all areas of your life. One approach that I like to do is to ask people, what area of your life do you want to remodel? Right? Like, not only want to, it doesn't come from the intellect, but it comes from the soul, it comes from the emotions. And we can see in our lives, like, what is the area that I most need to work on right now? Because that area will most likely be in shambles, whether it be your health, your relationships, your work, or your finances. And what I've realized along the journey in the past few years was that so many people, especially, I don't know how to call it, historically underrepresented people, Black people, the Black community, but also women, like, it can be everybody. I work with rich people, poor people, artists, social influencers, rappers, social entrepreneurs, many times from a diverse, like, from a cultural background, right? So that's something that I realized, and everybody has, right? They want to explode, they want to create, right? And the first thing is to really create that life design, and to focus then on, like, one area that is most urgently calling for your attention, right? So what I realize is that many people, they come to me and the energy is so much, they want to change everything at once, but it needs direction. The energy, like this massive amount of pent up energy that gets released through healing or through creating awareness about your pain, right? Like, it's like an explosion. So I am the guide here to kind of navigate the energy with you, like instead of just exploding and nothing happens. So the first thing is the life draft. And then it's really about transforming you. It's about transforming you, not only the life area, but you, right? So what happens? The first life draft happens, then it's about making a decision. And a decision means to step away from the old. Decision means to cut away from. So the process is about cutting away from the old, not in a sense of denying the old, but to really initiate into a new version of yourself, to initiate into what is about to come, what is about to be birthed through you. So the next thing is to create that decision. And then the next thing that will come up is the fear of the unknown, right? It's about a deeper getting to know yourself, a deeper getting to know yourself. One second. Yeah, so it is about, the next step is about creating a new identity. It's stepping into the new, right? So this new, stepping into the new, there's so much wisdom in my work. Like, I just really want to say that, and not because it is me that is doing it, but because there is so much wisdom. Like, I have learned, as I said, I've learned from a woman who has studied and dedicated her life like 40 years, maybe probably today is almost 50 years, because I learned from her 8 years ago, right? So that was the teaching then. But 50 years of her life she dedicated into studying transformation. What that means is studying, like, she's an educator. She is a psychologist, a trained counseling psychologist, and she studied world religion. And I, through her work, studied the same. Like, that's exactly what I studied all my life, like social science, spiritual science, psychology, and then ultimately, and this is what I'm doing here, is education, is educating others on their own human nature and how they can transform themselves into becoming the version of themselves that they want to be. And I'm going to continue speaking about the process that you grow into. So the next step is to open up your identity, because the life that we create is tied to the identity that we have taken on. And many times, if we don't go through an empowerment journey or a transformational journey, the identity that we have is kind of, it's taken on by society. So, for example, for me, the identity that I would have inherited by the world would most probably be like, she's a woman, she is a brown girl, right? Then I am a mixed girl, like even like torn between identities. Is she Black now, or is she white? Do I have to choose? No, I don't. But that, and then working class, right? Working class, all of those identities, working class, child of a migrant, a woman, a brown woman, a maybe identity crisis inherited by being mixed, and then all of that. But I personally, I didn't identify with those things. Only I had always initially, and this is also what was so beautiful in the conversation that I had with this other woman, the artist and the lecturer today, was that, like, we know as children, like, who we are. And I always had a very strong, like, fiery spirit, but also a very gentle and loving spirit at the same time. But I always knew, like, I am capable, okay? I am capable. And And then the world comes in, right? Then we go through the system and then we hear all those stories because that's ultimately what it is. People tell you stories about what is like who you are. No, that's not who I am. Like I'm not this, I'm not that. I am when at all, I am both. And most likely best of both worlds. But we're going to talk about the shadow as well. But that's what it's about. Like what I'm taking you through in my work is an alchemical process. That's also what that is what transformation is too. It's alchemy, right? But people don't want to call it that because we don't want to get mixed up with woo-woo stuff. But that's basically what it is. Transforming something is to alchemize it and hopefully create gold from lead, right? To create from like a very chaotic mass. We want to create the best out of it. And that's exactly what I do with my clients. So a part of this identity work is to know and rewrite your story. But first of all, also, and that's why I believe it's so important to speak about it also on an intellectual level. And that's what I'm doing here now. Because for a long time, I have tried to speak in layman's terms, but I don't believe that I am for the layman. I think it is important for me to speak about those things, including the intellectual terms as far as I know about them and as far as I think it's suitable for this conversation, because I think it's important. I think especially as a woman or a person of color, I think it's important to talk about those layers in terms of, as I said, social structures, sociology, classism, sexism, racism, elitism, right? All of these isms and schisms in this hierarchical society that we grew into, the matrix, right? The matrix, the patriarchal or the hierarchical system that we live in, the pyramid, right? Where the white man is on top, and what does that make me? Like just by subconscious messaging, the Black woman is at the bottom. And no, it doesn't sit right with me, never has, right? But these are stories that we can, if we don't take care, we can subconsciously take in and inherit. So the alchemical process that we do here is to free ourselves, free myself, help my clients free themselves from all the stories that we have been like that people try to project on us, right? Even our own parents, sometimes they want to, not sometimes, many times they keep us in their own limitations. Oh my God, no, please stop it. And unfortunately, I love my mom dearly, but she still tries to do that. She's a white woman. I regard her highly, but she lives in poverty mindset. Definitely. She lives in still in poverty mindset, in working class mindset, and she tries to limit me with that. So just a little side note, right? So we all have those things that we need to free ourselves because we know more is possible. So it's a very important part to shift your identity, to shift your own understanding of yourself. And that's where I feel where this saying of I'm a spiritual being in a human form or a spiritual, I more so identify with my spirit, with my essence, with my real self than all of the stories that other people have put on me. No, I don't identify with those. Not my family history, not my collective history as a Black person. I am not that story, right? Maybe it's a part of me just because it's in my blood, but I am here. And now we're speaking about the cycle breaker, right? I am here to transcend the story, but not transcend in a way of spiritual bypassing, but to transcend that in terms of empowering myself over limitations. Okay, I know it's a many, many words that need understanding, but I trust that you are the one for me. So It is about transforming your identity and integrating, not, and that's also a very big part. Many people that come from historically underprivileged, underrepresented classes or groups of people, when we move up in the social hierarchy, if we want to call it that, if we do the social climb, we educate ourselves and then we enter new spaces. Many times we separate, like we dissociate from this other part of ourselves, whether it be our blackness, whether it be our cultural heritage, right? I have this friend, she's Roma, like she's a gypsy. It's not the right word to say, sorry for that, but she's Roma. And yeah, there's like a societal stigma on that group of people. So she had shame for that, right? And that's the same thing with Black people or other ethnic groups, depending on how proud and informed you are really about your society or your ethnic group, your group of people, your culture, your history. And so we try to eliminate that part of us, so we push it into the shadow and we have to come and bring it out, right? So whether it be your femininity, right? Your even being a woman, right, can be seen as weak. So you push it to the side. Being Black can be seen as unfavorable, right? Being a working class child can be seen as unfavorable. The more you want to grow up and go up the social ladder, the hierarchical ladder of success. You understand what I'm trying to point at? Identity means owning all parts of yourselves and also transforming them, right? If you say you're owning the Black part of your side, it's not it's not just the bad things, right? That's also where people say today, by the way, is Halloween, right? So it's a day of also honoring ancestors. So honoring your like your ethnic group wherever you're from, it is not only about owning the victim story or the victimized story, but also the survivor story, or not only the bad parts or the bad part of the story of your Black side, but also the positive, the beautiful, the things that you love and you want to celebrate, right? Because there's a stigma, and this stigma most of the time comes from white society, the ones who write history. So it's owning the whole part of what you inherited, right? Not only the bad, but also the good, and then transforming the bad, maybe, because every cliche kind of has something to it. So I think that's also very important to be honest with that, right? Not everything about what I inherited from my Black dad or from Ghanaian culture was good. No, it wasn't. But there are beautiful parts, so I'm going to inherit that, right? The same thing with my white side and then the working class side, right? It's not over glorifying that. And also, like, I own my mom's strength and everything, her resilience and her savviness with money, as I just explained. Like, I know that she has a limitation mindset, a scarcity mindset, but still there are things that I can own, the good things that I can take on, and forming that well-rounded and sound identity of that's who I am. And then there are so many more layers, right? You can see how deep that work goes, right? So that's all happening in my container, also on a subconscious level. Not everything always has to be explicitly explained the way I do it, because it can become overwhelming to the intellect. And we don't only want to keep it on an intellectual level, we want to take it to the spiritual level, to the soul level, because I believe that is the essence that we want to bring to the forefront. So that's a station or a procedure in my work. I help you to integrate and expand your identity of yourself. You are so much more than the stories that have been told to you, and you're so much more than you thought up until now that you are. Like, allow yourself to jump out of the box. Like, you are a rainbow full of qualities and identities and all of that, right? Expand into a new identity. Very important, so deep. We could continue to talk about that for a long time, but I think if you're still here, you already know like how deep that work is. And then the next thing is really stepping into more abundance. I am all about abundance. My work is all about abundance, and my work is abundance is not only money, right? Abundance is the fullness of life. For me, one big part of abundance is honoring yourself on a spiritual level, on an emotional level. Also, the abundance is the spectrum, right? It's everything, right? From the joy to the pain, from the anger to the bliss, right? Like to have a spectrum from the physical abundance, financial abundance. It's all like everything is part of abundance from the inside out, from the invisible to the visible, from the intention to the manifestation, right? That is abundance, right? The whole universe is abundance, and we are the manifestation of abundance. I know it's a big concept to grasp, and I don't, again, only want you to grasp a concept. It shall be an experience in an embodied experience. One way to do that is to start sharing what it is that you have, because we always have more than we think. I feel like we're like opening up a lid, right, of flow. That's what it is. That's what flow is. Like we are infinitely creative, and we are opening this pipe that has been clogged, right, for a while because we have cut our throat. Like we have stopped the flow of creativity, or we were limited in our mindset, so we couldn't tap into abundant energy and abundant creativity. So that's another part, tapping into abundance, releasing everything that is inside, right? Everything that is inside, releasing that, everything that you have stored and pinned up, right? It's about letting it out. Creation. This is where creativity really starts. It's about using every emotion and your story. Again, this identity part is about your story. It's about storytelling. And then it is about releasing that story, releasing those emotions. And the best way, and again, that is where the parallel comes in with the woman that I had the conversation with today. She is an artist, right? So it is about using those emotions and those experiences and creating something out of that, right? That's why I am a creator. I am an artist. I'm a poet. I'm a speaker. I'm a writer. I'm a dancer. I am a creator, right? And that's what it is. Like if you see yourself as this identity as well, I create from the life experiences that I have, whether it be businesses or talks or social impact, right? Everything is a creation. The same goes for you. So it is about tapping into abundance. It's about creating, right? It's about releasing. Releasing is using all of the substance that is there, right? Again, this is what my mentor says, like you always have more than you think you have. Like you are so much more than enough. Oh my God, like there's so much there. It's time to let it out through whatever channel possible, right? So this is also what I lead you towards, and then you see what you want, how it comes out, how it wants to be created. Then the next step is to channel that energy, into solution-oriented energy. That's why I'm saying like my container is like I want to give I give structure. I do give structure. That's what my clients love about me. I give structure to this. it's an opening. And many times it's an opening like a volcano, right? But I believe we're afraid to, that's why I believe and I know that it's so crucial to have guidance and to have a space, a container to pour yourself into, because otherwise it could be very destructive, right? If it's not guided, if it's not channeled, if it's not contained, it can be like path, and then it destroys. It can destroy your life. This massive energy outburst when the wake up call happens. And that is what happens with many people who have a spiritual awakening, or it can also be a trauma release, right? Like the spiritual awakening is when the trauma and the protection mechanism like bursts open, and all the pent up emotion that has been pinned up since the moment there was this trauma protection mechanism formed. It's like the lid gets blown off, and the energy wants to release itself because the body is no longer able to contain this stuckness. So my work is like the container for the flow. And then it comes to guiding the energy, right? There's energy, and then there's consciousness. The energy is the feminine flow. Bam! The consciousness is the masculine direction. So we want to do both emotional work and mental mindset, focus work, consciousness work. That is the both. That's the yin and the yang. The emotional work is the embodiment, the yin energy, the also Kundalini awakening path. It's heavy. You know, you don't know, or maybe you do know. If you have that, and you don't know where to go with this, yeah, I might be the right one, right? To bring it into form. And then it's about focusing consciousness. It's about learning to focus. It's learning to direct the energy. It's learning to channel it into the right places that you want to transform. And then it is about connecting to the right people. One very important part of spiritual evolution, emotional maturity, like this transformational process, it is that you are no longer the same person. So what happens, and this is what I feel many people are talking about currently, is that what happens is that you become more light because you've released all of the baggage. You've released all of the stuckness, the heaviness, right? So you become more light. You become more vulnerable, but you also become more radiant. So more and more people that are still in darkness, they're gravitated towards you and your healing energy and your light. And this is so important that you create distance. That's why I say it is so important to come to a person like me, to come to a transformational teacher, to come to someone trustworthy and good and great at their craft, so they can be a safe person, a safe container for you, in that skinning phase. If we speak about Kundalini awakening, if we speak about the serpent, if we speak about snakes, the beautiful thing about the snake symbol and analogy is the snake sheds its skin, right? That's transformation as well. So the snake sheds its skin again and again. That means under the old skin is like this new, very vulnerable, soft, newborn energy that makes you very, very sensitive. You become more sensitive. You become more sensitive to everything. That's why it's important to protect yourself. The more you do your inner work, the stronger your boundaries have to become, and the higher your standards for the people that you interact with have to become, because you become more delicate, refined. Yeah. So, very important part, staying around people who are on the same level or even higher. Otherwise, the dark entities, the dark energies, the people, the negative mind, the bad thinking, the energy vampirism is going to come back, sucking you dry. That's what happens with a lot of women. I can see that. That's when they don't stay in my work. I just want to say that. I see also, and that's part of being a teacher, I believe. You see people, of course, going back on their own way, going astray. And then they're going to be eaten alive by the predators, because the predators look out for this gentle, sweet, raw, unprotected energy. That's why it's so important, as soon as you do this work, you have to also integrate your own, right? Your own primordial energy, your own protection, your own masculine energy as well. Because if that's a feminine flow, the masculine energy is the container, the protection. Yeah. And then you continue to flow on. And what I do here, like that's the first container, then that program is done, but it continues. It's about continuously becoming. The first program that I take people through is just the first coming into, like, the shedding of the first layer of the skin. But that's most of the time, that's not. Like, sometimes for some people that is the breakthrough, but for most people, to be honest, it is not. That's why I say it is so important to continue to stay. If your mentor has the capacity, the knowledge, the curriculum to facilitate for you, I would always suggest to stay with their mentor. But what happens is that many people, then they don't trust, they fall back into old ways, they go astray. Some people get lost in the woods again. But my next program is then deepening the energy that you have now, like, refined, right? And then it's about going deeper into the knowledge of self, into the knowledge of the mind, and into transforming even more your physical, right? Like your health part on a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical level, transforming your relationships to yourself, to your inner self, to your intuition, right? To your inner guidance, to your inner spirituality, sensitivity, right? And then also, of course, with others, as I said, it takes a new framework for relationships, for you to enter new relationships. That's where I see so many people also go astray, right? Because they go astray because they don't have the new, like, you are now maybe new, but you haven't upgraded the systems on health, on relationships, on work, also here on work and the value of your work. And this is what I loved in the conversation with my friend and colleague. I would call her the artist lecture woman. She said that, and I love that so much, that there was a formula that she uses to teach her students what their art is worth. And she said it's the size of the art piece multiplied by the time it took to manifest, to realize that art piece. And that's the same, and that's also today is another coming out for me, because I have been on that journey now for 10 years actively. I always believed that our whole life has probably been the journey, right? Because that's the substance, that's the material that we use to create from. And like, but what is like the active the active process of bringing to life what you're capable of bringing to life, like the artistic alchemical process of producing something. And then she said it's also the education and the training that you have to become a master, because it's about learning to work with those tools, right? What I do in my work as well is, of course, to empower my clients and students with tools of transformation that they can continuously use for themselves. And that's the same thing for the artist, right? The higher you go in your education, the higher your skill level of using those tools become, of transforming a thought, right, a concept into a art form. So that's it. Also, for my work, it's about learning the tools of intention, transformation, manifestation. It's about constantly producing something with those tools. And in this case, it's about producing your life, right? Art is not only producing an art piece. Your whole life is the art piece, right? Everything about you is the art piece. That's what I see. That's what I believe in. Your body is a piece of art, right? So if you know the right tools on how to shape your body in a certain way, you will use those tools. It's the way you walk, the way you talk, the art of speaking, right? The art of moving, the art of dressing. All of those things are art forms in order to present to the world whatever it is that you want to present to them. It's intentional. The same thing goes with relationship, not only romantic relationship, but the relationship to society, right? The relationship to other people is the relationship to society. Then we talk about personal branding, maybe even, right? Personal branding and bringing whatever it is that you want to present to the world to the forefront. Again, the way you speak, the way you relate to people, knowing human nature, knowing what people need and how you can, yeah, how like the art and science of making friends, or the art and science of winning people over, the art and science of persuasion, right? All of that is part of the program, of my program, how you can learn to use that. Same thing goes with your work. This is where we really talk about the craft, right? Your art. And again, here again, every work can be your art, whether you are a handyman or whether you are whatever it is about the mindset you bring to the work that makes it an art form, because every work has tools, has a tradition, has a sense of, yeah, craftsmanship. Like if you want to do something, there is art and a science to everything. And in all, that's why I say I think so many people are not happy with their work, because they don't see themselves. Not everybody wants to like break out, but it's about cultivating a new mindset, a new identity, a new viewpoint on that thing. And you can make everything into an art. And that is the mind, the approach, the perspective. That is what is really the differentiating factor, right? Like your dedication to mastery, not perfection, but your dedication to mastery of the outcome of your work. And then it's also, you can also use that for your finances, right? The time and money freedom. And that's a whole art form in itself. And that is actually the key point that I talked to with my friend today, was that it is about, like I asked her, because I am all about money at this point in my work. Like I am no longer only, even though everything is part of it and everything is valid, I am no longer only about transforming like your story, or transforming your emotions into clarity and peace, or the range, right? I am about helping people to transform themselves, their story, into a service that can generate money for them, right? That they see themselves as the money, as the value to create businesses. That is entrepreneurship for me. Mhm. And I'm all about that because I am about finding your self-worth, finding the value in your being and your ability to translate your value in your work in a monetary frame, right? To really understand yourself as an upright artist, as a master of your craft. Of course, you have to be good at what you do, right? But I see that you have to be a master at your craft and then translate it into money that will generate the lifestyle that you desire. I believe in that. So it is transforming all of the areas of your life, health, relationship, your work, and also your abundance, your time and money freedom. And then I know it has already been a lot, but and then I have even two more programs, right? Where it's really about working with the mind, sharpening the mind and its different functions, its different mental faculties, will, reason, perception, intuition, and what else? Will, reason, perception, intuition, and memory. We have those different faculties and we can use and train our mind. That's why I'm not only about mental health. If people speak about mental health, the mental needs training. Like there is like this psychological level where people will create like psychological sanity, like coming out of this, what is it called? Like coming out of, uh, what is it called? It's called mm, cognitive dissonance, right? Cognitive dissonance is when what you feel, like innately feel about your life and it doesn't reflect on the outside. That is for me, that's cognitive dissonance, right? If what you feel is not represented on the outside, and that creates a split in your mentality and in your identity. Short set. That is one thing to do. It's called, in a psychological language, the individuation process, right? It is the individuation process that brings wholeness, right? Wholeness of the mind, soul, and body. And then from this wholeness, you create wholeness in your outer life, right? I do the inner work with people. But mental health for me is just the beginning. The next level is mental mastery, right? It's about cultivating the mind, it's training the mind and its different faculties. As I said again, it's willpower, it's reason. Being able to reason with somebody this is also something that is deeply anchored in the German tradition. And it is important to not only be emotional, right? But to reason, to think. Perception, knowing that everything has two sides. From which side are you seeing those things? Everything has different ways to see it. Will, reason, perception, intuition. Intuition, I would say, is not only mental, but it's part of the mental faculties. It's the feeling. It's a knowing without intellectual knowing. Knowing without intellectual knowing. It's instant knowing. And then we have memory. We have memory, but one thing that I learned from Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey is that it's not only We cannot only use memory in backwards, right? Everybody always thinks memory is like most of the time it's backwards thinking, right? But it's not. Memory is also learning something new and memorizing the new, right? Just like a new language, right? You're projecting forward, right? And that's also something that it's so crucial to understand. Most people are trapped, right, in their past. And they keep thinking and thinking and thinking about the past. This is also what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about. But memory is also projecting forward and memorizing the future, memorizing vision, and focusing on vision every day, memorizing your future. I love this concept so deep. If you want to know more, stay tuned. And if it calls to you, come into my programs. Um, and the next program is working with the law. I mean, obviously, as I said, I'm a goddess, I'm an alchemist, I'm an occultist. It is about working with universal principles like the law of thinking, the mind, right? The law of mind. The universe is mental, all is mind. It's that's it. I don't know what else to say about that. The law of increase, the law of manifestation, the law of attraction. Most people know that only, right? The law of assumption, the law of cause and effect, right? Like all of these things, these are laws, universal laws. We can call it universal laws, which kind of takes us out again. And I'm not a big fan of only taking us out into a higher perspective, but I also want to call you in, because one of the laws is also as above, so below, as within, so without, like the law of correspondence. Everything is a mirror, the holographic universe. Like we live in a mirror universe. So as deep as you go in, as far as you can go out, because the principles are the same. The principles of the earth, right? Of the natural world, of the trees and the animals and the germs and the worms and the fungi and things like that, right? The natural laws apply to the smallest just as to the biggest. What's going on inside of us is also going on in the universe, right? Like that's kind of the laws. Everything, you can find those laws in everything. If it's being nature, in animal kingdom, in microorganisms, the same is true for us human beings as an individual, but also as a collective. So if you understand natural law, universal law, I say you understand everything, because you understand everything and nothing. But that's the thing, right? So as you can see today, I really wanted to really speak openly and not to just speak in children's language, which is also very good. To be an educator, you need to learn to speak in very simple terms, because as we say, if you're able to teach the children, you really know, like you really understood it, right? So that is my lifelong journey, to present what I've learned about the hidden secrets of the universe, to present it in such easy ways that everybody understands it. But I also wanted to speak to my intellectuals and the ones who just want to learn. Even if you don't understand everything, it's going to work in your subconscious. It's going to work in the woodworks. It's going to work in the roots. It's going to work in the fungi, right? It's going to work deep down in your microbiotic elements, right? It doesn't have to be intellectualized right away. No, it's still going to do something with you. It's going to stir up something. There's going to be something coming up. So that's what I do. I help people to expand into their highest self. And the first step is to create a vision for your life on paper, and then to grow into it, to step into it, to expand into it with a savviness, with a level of mastery, not some random child play. That's good. Like actually, when you know all of that, as I said, you become a child again. But everything you kind of know how it works. Yeah, so that gives a lot of peace and trust. And I believe that what I have to offer is one of the most valuable things in this world full of confusion that takes people under. I believe that this is exactly what people need to find themselves, anchor themselves in their true identity that is ever changing, but yet ever, ever true. Yeah. So, yeah, that was the conversation, or what I just shared with you was inspired by the conversation with the artist. And I help artists to, and you're an artist, humans, everybody, we're all artists, to own their story, to tell their story, to expand their story, to change their story, and to create their story and master their story as best as they apply the tools that are universally applicable. It is a craft. It is a craft that you can learn to create the life that you desire. It's not random. So many things are not in our control, but a lot of things are. And this is my gift to humanity. This is my gift to the people that resonate with me. And I want to empower you, help you, move you, inspire you to give it all you got. And also to round it off in my own manner, I always like to say, is to put on your crown. And your crown is to find your worth deep, deep, deep rooted within yourself, and to know your worth and to show your worth and to ask for the financial equivalent of the contribution you made in someone else's life. So yeah, I'm on my way to my first million, and that's easy. That is it can't be too hard if you know that what you bring is very valuable. But of course, it's a journey. So yeah, I'm thinking if there's anything else to say. I just want to say again, if you watch this video until here and you feel called to work with me, you're invited to find the link so we can talk first to see if we're really a good fit. And also know that it's going to cost. Of course, it's going to cost, but it's not only about the money. I need everything you've got. This journey will ask for everything that you've got, everything, to put your whole self in. That's what I'm asking you to do. So I think that's it. If not, there's going to be another video. But until then, stay dangerous and keep following that dream, that heart's desire, that womb desire, that calling, that anger, that restlessness. Follow it and find a guide, find a teacher, find a mentor, somebody that can help you pull out the best and direct it. Otherwise, many times it's just going to dissipate into a puddle of mud, right? Instead of giving this flow of energy direction, is going to dissipate in a puddle of mud. Don't let that happen. Let it be focused, directed, and clear. Okay, until then, bye.